And this is going to kick off with a piece from the Lord Bishop of Durham. It is the fact that some men possess an inbred superiority which gives them a dominating influence over their contemporaries and marks them out unmistakably for leadership. This phenomenon is as certain as it is mysterious. It is apparent in every association of human beings in every variety of circumstances and on every plane of culture. In a school among boys, in a college among the students, in a factory, shipyard, or mine among the workmen, as certainly as in the church and in the nation, there are those who, with an assured and unquestioned title, take the leading place and shape the general conduct. So there's an opinion. People ask all the time, are leaders born or made? That one right there is, hey, leaders are born. And that's, I always say both. I always say there's certain leadership qualities that people are born with, and some people are born with a lot of them. Some people are born with a lot of those qualities. Some people are born with a lot less. Some people aren't born with any. They're not going to be much of a leader. It doesn't matter how much you train them. You can get them better, but they're not going to be a great leader. And obviously some leaders don't need much training. There's very few of those leaders that just get it out of the gate as just born that way. I think it's a mixture of both. And I think you're born with some leadership capability, and the more you hone it, the more you work on it, the better you're going to be.
Why would you think, or why do you think that is? Is it because to be a leader, like the good, strong qualities that you got to have are so contradictory or counterintuitive?
They're not even counterintuitive, but you can get better at all of them. A couple, the one that's, for instance, some people are naturally talented, or some people are naturally articulate people. Yeah. So they're able to get their message across in simple, clear, concise language. That's very important. Now, if you're born with that, you're lucky, right? Good job. You were born with that. You were born an articulate person. If you weren't, guess what? You're going to have to work at it. You're going to have to read. You're going to have to write. You're going to have to listen. You're going to have to practice speaking to people. Yeah. And you will get better at it. So that's your example. Some people just have it naturally. But even people that have it naturally will get better at it over time. Right. I was always pretty comfortable speaking to people, but obviously when I was in the military, I spoke to people all the time. And when I was in a training situation as a young enlisted SEAL, I was put up in front of the classroom to speak to people, and I got better at it. And then when I became an officer and a leader, now I was briefing people, and so I'm doing it even more. And then I took over the training for the West Coast SEALs, and now I was briefing people all the time. And when I was overseas, I was briefing, colonels and generals. And okay, you're going to brief a bunch of times, you're going to get better at it. Yeah. I was already okay at it, just naturally, but I got better at it, and I'm still getting better at it today. So that's the same with any of these particular talents, being able to simplify things, being able to detach. Those are all important leadership qualities. You can have a certain level that you're capable at, but the more you practice them, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a combination.
Yeah. So how you say it's pretty rare that you get somebody who's, just has all the qualities right out the gate.
Yeah. I've never met anybody that just dominates in every category across the gate.
Like detaching, for example, that's kind of counter to your natural way of being.
Yeah, that's true.
Saying.
Most people are going to want to get in there.
Yeah,
for sure.
They're in there.
Now, I just thought of this example. I've talked about him a little bit on the podcast when we had Tim Ferriss on. Alton Lee Grizzard. He was my assistant platoon commander when I was at SEAL Team 1, and he got murdered. It was a horrible, tragic situation. He was involved in a murder-suicide. But he had a lot of those capabilities. He had a lot, he was very naturally articulate. He was the quarterback at the Navy football team, so he had a real good presence to him. He spoke clearly. He was down to earth, and yet, he could elevate himself very quickly when he was talking to if he needed to elevate himself. He just had a lot of those qualities very naturally. And guess what? He was at the Naval Academy. He played football. He was constantly getting in front of getting in the huddle and telling guys what was going to happen. And you get good at that over time. Yeah. And part of that is, so I don't know how much of it, I didn't know him when he was a football player, when he was in 8th grade. Maybe he was stammering and trying to put his thoughts together, but then he trained it over and over and over again, and he got better at it. And maybe by the time he got to me as a 23-year-old Lieutenant JG, he was like, oh, we're going to get in a huddle? I'll tell you guys what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, even though it appeared to me like it was natural, it probably wasn't. It was probably trained. He had some natural capability, but he played football his whole life, and that was that.
Yeah, so in a way, you can kind of, and this may be kind of interchangeable as far as the expression, but you say natural capability. It could be that they gain it through learning or whatever, just through their environment, like as a kid,
Yeah. So playing football.
And then they'll bring it to the training situation and they'll excel because they have it.
But I think it's got to be a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
And you will get better at it, but the more you focus on that particular skill, like some people aren't very comfortable talking. Even they're not even comfortable talking in a conversation, right?
Oh yeah.
And so if you end up with a kid like that, well, you got to get him out and socialize him and get him in front of people talking all the time, and that will be good for them.
Yeah.
If you have someone that's, if you got a kid or a young leader that doesn't know when to shut up. Right? How are you going to, because sometimes leaders are like that too. They want to hear themselves talk and they just keep talking all the time. And guess what? The more you talk, the less people listen. So if I'm giving orders on every little thing that we've gotten to do in front of us, eventually you're not listening to me anymore. And when something critical comes up, you're still not listening to me because I've been talking for the past 6 straight months, won't shut my pie hole. So that's a bad situation.
Yes.
So how do we get that person to quiet down? It's both.
Yeah.